He's the leader of one of Britain's staunchest allies, and his trip to the UK aims to strengthen ties between the two countries. But US President Donald Trump may have made matters worse for British Prime Minister Theresa May, even before he landed in London.
The people voted to break it up, so I would imagine that's what they'll do, but maybe they're taking a little bit of a different route. So I don't know if that's what they voted for.
Trump's comments come on the back of a new proposal unveiled by the British government that aims for a soft Brexit. Under May's plan, Britain and the EU would establish a common trade rulebook for industrial and agricultural goods. It would ensure frictionless trade with the EU on the Irish border. But the UK may lose preferential access to European financial markets that it's enjoyed so far. May is already under pressure from Brexiteers. Both the foreign minister and the Brexit minister resigned earlier this week, accusing her of caving in to the EU's demands. And Trump's comments have only fueled the fire.
President Trump seems to say you're getting back involved with the EU, and a lot of your own backbenchers would share that view. Are they right?
What we're doing is delivering on the vote of the British people. We're delivering on the vote of the British people to take back control of our money, our laws and our borders, and that's what our proposal does. We're also ensuring that as we do that, we protect people's lives, livelihoods and their jobs, and that we, of course, deliver on our commitment to Northern Ireland, that there should be no hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Despite this clarification, the British Parliament remains in disarray. May and her cabinet have their hands full trying to restore confidence in their plan to take Britain out of the EU. Trump's been critical of the UK and other allies for what he calls their unfair treatment of the US, and his visit could lay bare not only the widening gulf between May and the Brexit hardliners, but also the one between Washington and London. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
And TRT World's Sarah Morice joins us now from London. Hello there, Sarah. So the weather down there looks rather nice in London, but Trump has flown into quite a political storm, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely, Asa. And he's getting a frostier reception in some parts of London than he is in others. You can probably see this protest going on behind me here. We're standing outside the US ambassador's residence, and this is where Donald Trump and Melania are sleeping the night. And this group of protesters, they want to make sure that Donald Trump and Melania Trump get as little sleep as possible. They've brought along drums, pots and pans. They're making as much noise as they can, anything that rattles or shakes. And really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. On Friday, there's going to be a huge protest in central London. They're expecting somewhere around 100,000 people to take to the streets to protest against Donald Trump, A, being invited here to London, and then B, being a guest of honour at so many events. So you can understand there really is some malice feelings towards the president. We just watched his helicopter fly over, and this group behind me really broke into song at that point. So yes, the reception is going to be frosty on the streets. We've had a quick look at the latest polling. It shows over 60% of those polled here in the UK do not think Donald Trump is doing good things for the global world, for the global economy. Apparently around only 11% of the UK population actually support him as president. The bigger problem, though, for some of these protesters is the cost of this trip. We understand it's close to $18 million, or $16 million rather, that the policing alone of these protest events and Donald Trump's security detail is costing this country. An extra 4,000 police officers have had to be brought in to be on board, to be around Donald Trump. And that's on top of his own 150 Secret Service officers that travel with him.
Right. Sarah, look, this visit by Donald Trump, it coincides also with some very crucial negotiations over Brexit. How is Trump's visit likely to affect Theresa May's calculus over Brexit?
It's really tricky, and we just heard in that report you played earlier that he's already weighed into the Brexit debate, insinuating that perhaps he's not sure the Brexit that Theresa May is trying to steer this country towards is the right Brexit, insinuating perhaps that it will be a Brexit which involves too closer links to the European Union than some of those who voted Brexit would have wanted. And Asa, really, this gets to the heart of the problem here. This is why we've seen a week of political turmoil in the UK. There are those who want a hard Brexit. They want to completely break away from the European Union. And then there are those like Theresa May who are trying to steer a softer course.
OK.
And what this does by Donald Trump butting in here, by him having his say, really it makes it more and more difficult for her to hold on to her government, where she really is fighting one side who are against her plans, and actually she's got a lot of MPs threatening to resign if she doesn't toughen up her stance.
OK, we are going to have to leave it there. Sarah Morice in London, thank you very much indeed. Now, earlier I spoke to Stephanie Kelly. She's a senior political economist at Aberdeen Standard Investments. She says even though the UK government's Brexit blueprint was meant to give some clarity to investors, the outlook remains challenging.
I think in a way, for investors, today's release will be both a positive and a negative, because the solution that Theresa May has put forward does address some of the concerns that investors would have had around tariffs and around customs barriers that would slow issues around supply chains. However, as you say, financial services is one area in which we're waiting to see the detail within this paper around exactly what financial services access is discussed. We've kind of highlighted for quite a long time, though, that without EU membership, it is quite challenging to get the same amount of access that we currently have for financial services. And so even through equivalence, it is essentially a kind of a political as much as it is a regulatory achievement. And so we would say that the outlook has been challenging for a while. However, it will be useful to get the detail from Theresa May's white paper today.
Right. I know details are scant at the moment, but from what you've seen and from what's been around in the media over the last week or so, how likely is it that this plan is going to fly with the EU 27?
I think potentially aspects of it seem as though they will work quite well with some of the EU's kind of rules-based approach that they've taken to this negotiation. However, there are still concerns around having kind of customs access while also being able to negotiate free trade agreements elsewhere, which has been one of the UK government's key red lines. With regards to financial services, again, as I said, it's quite challenging to incorporate those into any kind of free trade agreement, so perhaps this is an acknowledgement of that fact. Now, in terms of calculating the cost to the UK economy, I think it's challenging for a couple of reasons, one of which, the most powerful, I think, is that the reality is services firms rely on non-tariff barriers being low. These are harder to estimate than your traditional tariffs. So these are things like regulatory alignment, having the same qualifications so that you can work in multiple countries.
Right.
And so that's the challenge.
Right.